everyone. Good morning. I hope you're having a pleasant day so far and are excited and now ready for the Ask Me Anything session that is right ahead of us, organized by the Institute of Product Leadership. My name is Harleen, and I'm your host for today's session titled Navigating the Product Management Career Path, Debunking Myths and FAQs. In this hour, you will be able to interact with an experienced industry professional to understand the product management career in depth and what it requires from an individual and how one can go about building a career roadmap in the same for themselves. Before I start today's insightful session, let me give you a quick introduction to the Institute. The Institute of Product Leadership is Asia's first business school providing accredited degree programs and certification courses in product management, product leadership, data science, design, strategy, and leadership. The Institute has partnered with 3 universities in India and the University of Houston in the United States. The Institute was founded in 2012 with a singular mission of creating 10,000 product leaders in the country. Ever since, the organization has designed and delivered programs in collaboration with various institutes, universities, and corporates to the senior working professionals to help them make career transitions into product leadership. The Institute has built and developed a community of over 3,700 plus successful alumni leading the product, data, design teams across the world. We're also knowledge partners for 250 plus organizations worldwide. You can find out more about the Institute and the programs offered through the link in the chat box. The Executive MBA in Product Leadership offered by the Institute of Product Leadership is an 18 months on-campus accredited business degree for senior working professionals focusing on product and cross-functional leadership. This program is designed to accelerate career paths and shape individuals into dynamic product executives and entrepreneurs through experiential learning led by industry's top decision makers as faculties and executive coaches. For those interested in off-campus options, the Institute offers a range of certification programs tailored to your career objectives. These programs, created and curated by industry CXOs, focused on learning and career outcomes with many case studies, simulations, real-life projects, and personalized coaching. That's about the is to help you all clear your doubts and concerns regarding the products. This will raise your hand if you have any questions, and you will be unmuted to ask the same. Our esteemed speaker will be answering all your queries. Without any further ado, let me introduce and welcome our distinguished speaker for the day, Mr. Mutharaj Tangavel. Mutharaj is a seasoned product leader who has experience in building and scaling global SaaS products with top product companies, including Google and SAP Labs. He's passionate about design thinking and product innovation and has been recognized with awards, publications, and speaking engagements at various prestigious forums. He's currently the Senior Product Manager at Google. Good morning, Mutharaj. Pleased to welcome you here today.
Thank you, Helen. Hello, everyone. Good morning, and happy to be with you all today. So let me share my screen, and then we can get started. Okay, today we are going to discuss something about product management career, right? Something that can be a question for a lot of you, if you are considering product management as a career path, or those for have you you know if you have already been into the product management career, how can you further progress along the career? How can you get to the let's say top product management companies, top product companies, or get to the next level of in the product management career path as well, right? So those are some of the things that we are going to discuss through. I would like to try and keep it as fun and light as possible. While we learn, I would like to keep that as also as something that is light and engaging, so you are able to get the most out of it. And we will have some small tasks here and there, so be ready when we pump up with some tasks that you can quickly do and report back. And when you do task, do remember also that we will also have one or two of you selected as selected from based on your tasks that you are doing today, for some surprise gifts as well. Right. So without further ado, let's get in. So I'm Muthu. As Carlin mentioned, I'm currently with Google, previously with SAP and Intuit. I've been product management, teaching for product management is a passion for me. Earlier, I was also teaching for a while for design thinking, more than a decade now, for several companies, individuals, and now I've added into the teaching profile since the last 4 years, also onto product management, given a lot of interest in this area from a lot of folks. Just making sure when you are getting into this area, what are you getting onto, how you should be doing it, how you can grow further, etc., was needed in many cases. And that's what I try to offer, and also learn in the process, because always when you go in with when you share your learning, it's only going to multiply. So that's something that I always strongly believe in. So given that you are here today, I'm a lot of you are considering product management as a career, or you're already into the career at the early stages of it. Specifically for those who are starting to consider it as a career path, the first question is like, does it really fit you? But unfortunately, this question isn't asked by a lot of folks to themselves. This happens because of a lot of cool things that floats around. What happens is every time when there is a new career path that peaks in the industry, like for example, a lot of you would recall what happened with data scientist roles, for example. Always there will be a hype cycle. Like when something newly gets introduced, the demand will be high, but the supply will be less, and hence you will see a spike in that cycle, such that all of a sudden there is a lot of attention about that single role. And then folks are trying to several businesses, like India as a system is built to, like, if there is a demand, we are very good in making the supplies, right? So what happens is, as soon as there is a demand, we can actually start to creating factories of making people eligible for that demand or get into that demand, right? So this is something that very rapidly starts to happen. So in that process, what happens is, over a period of time, that hype again goes down. And then once the hype goes down, what happens is, when there is like a good amount of supply and which is equal to the demand, then all of a sudden, many people are left out in this journey, right? So this has happened for a lot of data scientist friends whom I know. This has happened for a lot of PM folks, who were trying to change into PM folks. PM career has also happened, which is, if you don't have that real zeal, passion to do something, you don't have to change your career into that just because something is happening, right? So you have to honestly reflect for yourself, what is your passion, and that aligning with your passion, what is that in the industry that you can do? You can be an engineer and you can be still be very very successful. You can be a developer, you can still be very very successful. You don't have to change the career just because there is something cooler happening, just because there is something new. You don't have to jump ships all the time. You have to jump only when you are certain about it, only when you know what you are getting into, not based on the cool things that gets floated around. It may look cool. You will hear that a lot of folks saying, hey, you own the product, you are the customer's advocate, you make a lot of key strategic decisions, you are building and scaling from things from scratch, you would do all the time new innovations, it's a very high paying job. But then there is also, while these can be true in some of the roles, depending on the company, depending on the role that you are getting into, you would also have like, endless meetings trying to align stakeholders to get to a conclusion, highly demanding work, no direct authority. Sometimes, some of the organization structure are not aligned directly to the product structure. And then they are like, you will have to endlessly debate with them. There are techniques how you can drive through some of those situations, but it is going to be very very tiring. You're going to feel at a point, hey, what am I doing here, right? So because you cannot directly say, hey, this is what we should be building. Unlike what you would hear, from the internet, see from the internet, it is not directly that you have a direct authority. That makes a lot of difference, right? And then you may have to make very unpopular choices and defend them. Sometimes the team is not yet convinced, and that you still have to say that, hey, we cannot do this feature, we cannot release this, right? And then you may have a lot of internal politics to be steered through with, right? All roles have politics, but this role specifically, because you are trying to relate to multiple stakeholders and then align them towards a vision, you may have to deal with a lot more of politics as well, right? So without understanding some of these nuances, if you try to get into something just because that is the most happening thing currently, you would be left out in the crowd. And always remember this, that we as a country are very very good in producing huge number of supplies, when there is a demand, right? So just because there is a demand, you are not going to be successful in this career. It has to be the passion that has to be that has to be from you, from within you. If you have not yet, if you don't know that whether product management is the right fit for you, you should do mentoring sessions, you should do consultations, you should speak to other product managers, reach out to people in LinkedIn, try to understand it further before you make that career choice for you. That's the number one thing I would like to drive today. With that, let's start debunking some of the product management myths. As I was saying that there's going to be a lot of the cool things that float around in the internet. I picked some of them that generally floats around to debunk, whether it is true. Some of them may be true, some of them may not be true, some of them may be, and there are some nuances to it. Let's discuss about it, right? So that's the objective for the next 30 minutes or so. So how we are going to do this is, for each of these questions, I'd like to bring up a poll, and then you can basically answer whether you would agree to it, yes, no, or maybe. So let's start with it. This is one of the terms that often comes up in internet, often comes up in social media, and that I would like to see what you folks think. Let's get a poll up and running. Harleen, can you bring up? Okay, almost most of you have voted at this point. So we can end the poll here. So if let me share out the result as well, right? So if you look at this, result, it's basically majority of you have agreed that yes, a CEO, a product manager is the CEO of the product, right? So that means social media has done a very good job in sort of making the role really popular, right? So basically, if you look at it, there's a lot of nuance to it. A CEO comes with a direct authority. um, you are able to control several pieces within the company. You're able to decide how many of them do you want to hire, how, what is the direction you want to go ahead. You are the face of the company, a lot of it, right? From a spirit of a CEO perspective, a PM could be matching in many places because you are the face of the product. You are representing the product. You're setting up the vision for the product. You're aligning the roadmap for the product. Given, and that too depends on, there is, most products are multiple PMs. So if there are multiple PMs, you're not a single PM representing that product. You may be representing one module in that product, right? So your scope area drastically changes depending on which level of product management you are at. Possibly for your module, you're still be the face. You are deciding, you are doing the roadmap, you are coming up with the vision, you are aligning the stakeholders. You're aligning the stakeholders, not controlling the stakeholders, not directly influencing the stakeholders, right? So basically, there's a lot of difference when there is no direct authority. And that is the thing that we were talking about in the previous slide, that it is actually not as sexy as it seems. It's going to be a lot of grunt work for you to be able to realize your vision for the product. You may have something that you think is the best for your product based on your understanding, your context, your knowledge, your domain knowledge, etc. But then to make it into a reality is not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of grunt work. It's not like as easy as a CEO who could say that, hey, let's stop this and start doing that from tomorrow, right? So change from, we are going to do a pivot tomorrow, starting tomorrow, right? So you cannot do that in a company setup. If you are a product manager, you'll have a lot of things to be followed up, right? So that's very important to understand. You will have the spirit of an entrepreneur, of a CEO, of how they would run their business, but you will not necessarily have the powers, or most cases you will never have those powers to that they would enjoy in terms of driving what they are trying to do. And their scale could be much larger as well. Like they control people finance directly. Even at the highest levels of product management, in many cases, you are not still controlling the overall engineering, overall budget decisions, etc. Right. So basically, that reminds me of this very famous meme, right? So as a product manager, what do we really do? Like, everyone thinks something differently, right? So like, what your friends think, to your mom think, that we all the time go on stage to do something, you know, to even what sometimes we ourselves think about us as a product manager. But what we may be really doing is chasing between a lot of different things. Yes, you still have a vision, you will make it a reality someday, but you have to do a lot of work to get there and keep doing it, right? So that's very, very important. Then this is the other thing that happens often, right? So product managers are just glorified project managers, right? So there was at a point, project management was the most happening career, and then the product managers started happening, and then people said, okay, hey, it's like once in a while roles just change their names. It's the same project managers packed in a different bottle now, and they call it a product manager. Some companies even call product managers as delivery or program managers. So calling program managers is something that you would still see today, that companies are actually calling it the title as program managers, but the actual description is of a product manager. Right. So Hence, I would like to see what your take is on this one. Let's get the poll going again. Okay, most of you have voted at this point. Let me end the poll here. So basically, you have said no. So that is in fact, in lines to what is actually happening in the industry, right? So basically, what happens is project management is a lot about execution. You are able to you're able to sort of drive the execution of an aligned project with aligned set of deliverables, right? So there is a deliverable to be achieved on a certain timeline, and there are certain set of resources associated to it. So how do you sort of efficiently you can drive that towards achieving that outcome becomes largely the project delivery program management kind of roles. In product management roles, sometimes the same essence comes in, like, you may also have to drive or chase between the teams, the dependent teams, to get a delivery done. This also can happen because if you notice, if you have been noticing the trend, the number of project management roles in the technology companies, specifically the technology companies and technology product companies, have come down recently, right? So project management is still a very important role. If you are, for example, if you look up a construction industry, infrastructure projects, it's very, very critical, very, very mission critical role. Chandrayaan 3 launched. Project managers play a very key role in some of those mission critical elements, right? But if you look at product companies, the project management roles have come down in technology product companies. This has been able to be achieved by a variety of factors. So basically, for number one, for example, there are variety of tools that helps you in planning, road mapping, sorting out dependencies between different delivery teams. Those things have happened to some extent. There are tools that has taken out these. And then, the agile processes and the scrum processes are able to make the team efficient on one hand side. Engineering managers role have been stepped up recently, that because engineering managers at a point in India were becoming people managers, because they had a lot of people to report to and all they did was like managing people. Now engineering, majority of the companies are not describing the role as an engineering manager, as a people manager. They still have delivery responsibility as well. So a combination of these factors have led to sort of decrease in the number of project management roles, specifically in the technology product companies. And because of which there are places where product managers also have to play some amount of project management roles along with the tools in place, engineering managers and other things. But then you are not the person who has to go and deliver the execution end to end, right? So that's to be noted there. This is another thing that I keep hearing all the time, right? So, okay, I'm not from a technology background, hence possibly I can never become a product manager, right? So, possibly this is true, possibly not, because what happens is we are here specifically talking about, uh, product management roles in technology product companies, because that is your today the number one source for product management jobs, right? So if you today say product management, where are product managers hired, right? Majority of product managers are hired in technology product management jobs. Like, there is a product being built, like we are in Zoom now, Zoom as a product, Google has several products. There are several technology based products, the SaaS products, and they need product managers. There are other hardware products, other industries, etc., where there is also need for product managers. But then the number one hiring opportunity today comes from the technology product companies. Because these are technology product companies, this question is a valid question that we should be discussing. So let's bring up the poll to see what you folks think. So far, it's still a split decision. Let's take a couple more votes to see if there is a winner emerging. Okay, so basically, a lot of you it's trending towards, it's very close, but it's still trending towards a no as an answer. So let me take no as an answer there, right? So the majority of you feel. And by the way, that is a right assumption in many cases. And here I tell you why. So basically, what happens is, if you look at uh, although you are going to go work in a technology product company, it is two different things to say. You should be coming from a technology background and you should be knowing technology. And that knowing the technology understanding can be of a scale. And it can be like it's a broad scale, and you need not be always an expert in that area, right? So if you actually look at, should you be coming only from a technology background to get into product management? The answer is no, because you can be coming from quality. You can be, I have seen very successful product managers from quality background, by the way. Business folks make a very good product managers. They come from business background, business analyst background, or a business growth background, and they make very good product managers as well, technology as well, right? So there are variety of backgrounds that you could be coming from, and you can still be a very successful product manager. But the thing to be noticed here is, because end of the day, your deliverables is a technology product, you need to have technology understanding, right? So you cannot be not understanding anything about your product and be your product manager, right? So there needs a technology understanding that is important. Now, the technology understanding is a scale of, if you look at a scale of 1 to 10, it can vary depending on the company's culture that you are part of, depending on the kind of product that you are building. These two becomes two important factors. Let me explain that why. So, if you are a product manager, for example, a platform product, right? So let's say, for example, you're building services on, on a cloud platform, and that will be used by developers to build their applications, right? Now, your users are directly your developers. So as a product manager, you have to understand your users, and that you have to deliver value to them, for which you need to understand technology, right? So and then many of these technology products, that the platform based products, for example, if you're a product manager at GitHub, if you're a product manager at Postman, right? So there are a lot of these kind of platform products where the technology understanding that is needed is on the higher side. Even the user that is actually going to use that product is going to be a highly technical person. So for you to interface with them, understand what they really need, and empathize with them and deliver value to them, you are going to require, the technology understanding. So your technology understanding for those kind of roles is going to be fairly high, like maybe something like 8 of 10, depending on the complexity of those products, right? So your technology understanding need to be high. I'm still saying technology understanding. It's not technology background. It's not that you need to know coding. Those are all very, very different things. It's technology understanding. You're understanding the building blocks of technology. You're understanding the blueprint of a system. You're understanding how a cloud system works, for example, what are APIs, how the how the information flow happens, how to read an information architecture. Those are building blocks of how a SaaS product is delivered, right? So that is what you are understanding. And that level of understanding can be very high when you are building a platform product. Whereas you can be someone who can be building an end user facing, user experience heavy kind of products as well, right? So let's say you're owning the landing experience in Swiggy, the homepage landing experience of Swiggy, right? So then what happens is your thinking is very different. Like, you would still understand technology, but you can still be like 4 of 10, and you can still be a very successful product manager in that role, right? So technology background is not needed. Technology understanding is needed. The level of technology understanding varies based on the kind of product that you're doing. I also said culture is important because certain companies by culture, they promote more technology. Some companies associate themselves as a very high, very heavy technology companies. They take pride in that, which means they expect their product managers also to be having high technology understanding. Although you can be owning an end user experience, they would still expect that person to understand technology well, something like a 7 of 10 or a 6 of 10 at least, even though you are owning some end user heavy, user experience heavy kind of experiences, right? So those are the aspects to be noted. And then based on how comfortable you are going to be with that technology understanding, upskilling yourself to that technology understanding level that is needed for the role, you have to decide whether that role is for you or not. Because if you want to be not that much deep into technical, if you want to stay at that 4 of 10, then you have to select roles accordingly. If you want to be that 8 9 of 10, you have to select roles accordingly. All of these are available, but you have to be carefully looking at before selecting, because you will not be successful otherwise. If you are not a deeply technical person, but you end up selecting a deeply technical role for a product manager, then you will not be successful. So that's why you have to make your choice. Okay. So next we are actually, this is the next one, right? So like, um, it's like, because there is a lot of product management hiring from the corporate companies, where there is absolutely, they build a lot of features as well. So the other side of the gang, which is basically, a lot of folks who start to say that, hey, hey, product management is finally just feature management. It's like, what do I build next? What set of features, right? So it's all about feature management, right? So that's another thing. And if you check in reality, in some cases, it does try to happen in some places also, because there is a lot of features to be built and that you are trying to manage those features as well, right? Hence, I would like to keep this as a question. And let's get the poll going here to see what you folks are thinking. Harley? Yeah. Okay. A lot of you have told yes at this point. Now, feature management is one part of product management, but feature management is not the product management, because product management, as a product manager, you need to have a vision where you are going to drive towards, and feature is a way to get there. So if you don't have a clear roadmap and the vision of where you want to get to, where you want the product to be at, and that only looking at the features that needs to be built, then you're not doing justice to your product management role. Unfortunately, in many places, it is becoming the case because there's a lot of, the expectation from a product manager becomes that, hey, tell me the next 10 features that we need to build. And hence, it is becoming like that. Sometimes they just go headless to look at all possible features that can be happening around in the market, in the competition, as the trend, and then build all the features into the product. Right? But a SaaS product management is very different. If you add the unnecessary features, if you add features which are not going to be used by a lot of your users, if you don't know the sizing of the features that you are doing, and that you are just adding more and more features, more and more bells and whistles, you could have still survived in a on-premise world, because for the feature bloating that you have done, the cost of it is still borne by the customer. They pay for that bloated software for running it in their server that is sitting in their house, in their company. Whereas in now, if you look at majority of all the technology products that you see around you is all SaaS products. The hosting is done by the product company itself. So if you're bloating your software with a lot of features, you're doing injustice to yourself. You're taking more compute. Your cost of goods sold is increasing. Your profit margin is decreasing. Your debt is increasing because of you have to keep maintaining these features. You have to keep upgrading these features. So basically, you are doing injustice to yourself and your team by just building a lot of features. Build, to get to only what is really needed. The vision is very, very important. Um, you know, uh, Speaking of feature, that reminds me of this famous meme that basically, this is how, by the way, product managers handle, right? So you go and ask a product manager, hey, can we do this? Can we do that? You're from another team asking another team, one more team's product manager about a feature. All the time you would hear this dialogue that, hey, I'll put it in the backlog, add it to the backlog, right? So, and then this backlog never gets visited in in most companies, right? So that's what happens in reality. There is this other side as well. While you could do this easily to a peer of you or another team person that is asking you that, hey, build this feature, and then you ask them to, hey, let's put it in backlog, and you will never revisit it. But unfortunately, there is this other side, which is like, someone higher up in the ladder comes and tells, hey, this is the feature to be built. Now, all of a sudden, what happens is you as a product manager has put in a lot of effort, prioritized, have a set of features, and then you throw it away happily, and then build something that what has been asked by, someone higher up in your ladder, right? So this is also something that happens very often, unfortunately. Sometimes this is okay, sometimes this is not. When you have a strong feeling that that why the set of features that you have proposed can also make sense, you should have convincing around it. You should produce more data points for it. You should try to showcase those data points in an assertive way, stating them why that can still make a difference for the product. Try to see if you can still the features that they have are asking to build, if some sort of flavor of what you have also thought about can also be collaborated within that to still make the product successful, right? So those are some of the techniques that you can use in those kind of situations. But unfortunately, this is also one of the reality that we face in the industry today, that you may have to throw away your features at times. The other extreme of feature management is building new products. This is, by the way, a sort of a social media image that is built, that you know uh, if you see basically majority of the product managers who are socially influencing and so on, you will hear a lot of them talking about how do you build a new product. So that also creates this thing that, hey, you can actually experience product management only if you build a new product, right? So this is still a valid thing, because there are different flavors of product management. We looked at feature management as one part of it, but then there is also this, the new product management, which is actually promoted in many of the social media discussions, that, hey, this is the real product management. Hence, I would like to take this up for discussion. Let's see what you folks think, and then we'll talk more about it. Let's have a poll here. Okay, let me end the poll here. Most of you have told no. That is, by the way, aligns with what you should be thinking in general. Because what happens is, building a new product, as what we call as a 0 to 1 phase of the product, is an important element that you should be experiencing as a product manager. Is some experience that you should go through at least once in your career. As a product manager, you should aspire to be at least one time being part of a 0 to 1 experience that gives a lot of insights. You may at the end of it decide, hey, this is not for me, I will rather go and do growth product management. This is not for me, I will rather go and do a mature product and do feature management, right? So those are absolutely fine, but experiencing 0 to 1 is important. This can give you immense learning. This is a dimension of product management that I would suggest all of you, when you have an opportunity, go take that and experience it. This will give you, a whole new bunch of learning. Yeah. So this is the other thing I would like to bring up here, right? Because see, this is something, if you're a product manager, you would have already experienced as well. Product managers all the time experience this, right? So when you go and propose a concept, the engineering manager, the developer, the architect, the team lead, the marketing guy, the salesperson, the customer engineer, everyone is asking you questions. When you go present a concept, when you go present a roadmap, when you go present a feature, everyone is asking you questions, because you are basically proposing what can be done. If you are someone who is going to propose what can be done, then of course you are going to face questions from all of the rest of the stakeholders that, hey, what is it? Why do we do it this way? How do we do it? Is this even possible? Is this what the customers really need? There is going to be a bunch of questions that you're going to be faced with. But in reality, as a product manager, when you take this presentation to the group, a feature, a roadmap that you are presenting to a broader set of stakeholders, it's important to know whether you should be having all the answers or not. Right. So that's why I want to take this up. Let's have a poll here. What do you folks think? Okay, trending in the direction of no. That is in fact how you should be thinking, because you can never have all the answers. And if you want to have all the answers before any presentation, before writing your PRD, before sharing out your requirement, before doing a presentation, then you are never going to get the product built. There will always be questions, and there cannot be all the answers right at the beginning or at the even as the process is going through as well. It's going to be very iterative. You are learning a trend, you are proposing a concept, and you are learning a few answers along the way. You are proposing that concept and defending based on the data points that you have. And at the same time, you are being open about what you don't know at this point, and hence say that these are things that are open questions, or these are things that needs to be experimented, or these are things that needs technical evaluation. Be transparent about it, and then do experiments, do iterate, and then figure out, as we go along. We can never be all settled for all the answers. That is never the goal. You have to keep moving forward. That is the most important thing here. And that you have to be collaborative in doing that, in achieving that, so that you can build a successful product. Yeah, so I'd like to sort of bring this up as well. Sometimes PMs say that, hey, I know all the answers. It's just that I don't understand the question that you asked me, right? So don't try be that. Yeah. Okay. So a good resume is all that it takes to land PM job interviews, right? So this is something that is taught by a lot of folks who are either early in the product management career or just transitioning into product management career. If you ask them, they would say that, hey, by the way, I have a great resume, right? So and then I should be getting a product management job, right? So you have a great resume because you may be having some qualifications, you have some things to climb, but then, is that all that is today looked at? Specifically, when you are transitioning into product management, you are, let's say, a great developer today, engineering manager today, you are transitioning into product management. You have, highlighted the courses that you have done. You have highlighted some sort of relevant experience that you had even as an engineering manager, and you have got a very good resume, right? So the resume wise, you have done a good job. But is this enough for you to transition into product management career when you have highlighted your PM courses and your PM relevant experience in a good format resume, which is, by the way, one page only? If some of you are still having this misconception that you have a 3-page resume and you believe someone is going to read it, you know, let this be clarified today. No one is reading it, right? So in today's world, no one has the time to go through the 3-page resume, irrespective of whether you are also a 20-year experienced professional. Have only 1-page resume. That's enough to convey all the important things that is needed. This is like a 1-slider pitch deck that you do for a product. You need 1-page resume for you in terms of what you can offer as a value, and that people should come to you, right? So, if you are still having a more than 1-page resume, it's high time you rethink about it, right? But by the way, if we assume that you have cracked this 1-page resume really well, is that now all the things that you would need to land a PM interview? That's the question. Let's have poll here. Okay, most of you are trending towards no. I like that. So basically, resume is all of claims, right? So like you claim that you know something, but in today's world, everything is show and tell. Everything is application, right? So unless you are also able to back up your what you are claiming, for example, the product that you have worked, you have linked it. The blog that you have written, you have linked it. The kind of work that you have done or a conference that you have attended and you have made a difference, you have an artifact that you can link, you have a demonstrable skill, you have linked it. Skill using a blog, a research, a paper that you have published, an analysis that you have done, a product, you should be linking it. All of this requires a good amount of artifact, right? So anything that you need, anything that you are climbing in a resume is just a climb. It's like saying that uh, if you see many of our food products today, right, or even many of our retail products today, if you look at, they'll have a name. For example, uh, they'll keep a name natural, thinking that people can think that this is a natural product. They'll keep a tagline, something to be, something like no sugar, or, sugar free, or something like that, just so that the people can actually think that, that this is what is the reality, right? And for example, even many of those aspects, like, like in many cases, like if you look at a, uh, in today's world, the differentiation can never be done as well, right? So like some of these retail products are like, for example, today, a chocolate or an ice cream is just a flavor, right? So a chocolate, what we eat today, majority of the chocolate is chocolate flavored. There is hardly any cocoa in it, and it is still called a chocolate, and people still buy it, right? So that is what has happened in the, let's say, the retail industry. That what you actually have versus what you claim is very different. Now, unfortunately, the same thing has happened in the job industry as well. You would have seen these famous quotes that, how people talk about changing a bulb in their resume, right? So you can write it very, very fancily, a job of changing a bulb in the room, right? This is exactly like, saying something as a chocolate which does not even have 0.1% cocoa, right? Right. So this is what is really happening today, that resumes and LinkedIn's can be very high claims, but in reality that may not stand out. That person may not have the stuff to prove the claim. So what is important is, today's recruiters, hiring managers do look for artifacts. So you claim something, but is there a link in that resume that links to that artifact? Is that something that can demonstrate that you have that skill? This is very, very important, folks, right? If you're not doing it, you should be doing it. You have to have demonstrable artifacts. Start even as simple as, sometimes creating artifact, like if you have to write a big blog, first you have to start writing a simple post. People don't do it. They think that writing a post is very, very hard, right? So for example, when they think about a blog, like something that can, for example, you know um, uh, WhatsApp Pay. They have been trying several different forms to make it successful, right? In fact, having payment inside a chat conversation should have given them a right to succeed, but they have not succeeded. They are trying different ways to make it successful. They are now introducing it into business forms, and trying to see if this can be successful, right? Now you can write an analysis about it, a blog about what is happening with WhatsApp Pay, why they are not able to compete with Phone Pay and Google Pay, right? Now this is something that can demonstrate your product thinking, a product strategy thinking, right? Now if you have to write that kind of an article, before that you should have at least written a post, one paragraph, right? That would have increased your confidence to get all the way to writing a article later. Now, to write that post, all that is needed was like a 5-10 minutes of thinking, and that you could have written a post, right? But you don't do that. So this becomes a cycle, and you never break this cycle, right? So this is the honest reality, folks. You should really reflecting about it. Many of you, those who are not writing, this is the starting problem, right? So you have some idea. maybe that kind of a WhatsApp strategy idea, you have other strategic ideas that you can write an article, but you have not even started writing a post, and that you are just not spending that 5 minutes to write a post, right? You get my point? That is your starting problem. And if you never break this, you are never going to create demonstrable skills that you can link from your resume. That's very, very important, right? You know, people just think that I have attached my resume and cover letter. This is all the thing that I have to do as a good citizen, as a good PM, as a someone who's looking for a job, as a job candidate. All I need is a resume and a cover letter, and I'm done. You are not done. You have to have artifacts, right? And break that cycle, and you have to start doing that first post. Hence, this is going to be a challenge for you folks. And this is a challenge that will be rewarded as well. One winner will be rewarded, right? So what I want you folks to do is, next 5 minutes, you can write about anything, right? But you have to write something in this next 5 minutes. In your LinkedIn profile, write something, right? So, this can be about largely around product management, because that is the context that we are discussing, and that you are interested in product management career as well. So very broad theme. I'm not giving a very specific theme, very broad theme around product management. You know, to give you some hints of how you can go, just look around the products around you, everything around you. You will see a lot of products. You are in Zoom, that's a product. You are using a laptop or a mobile phone, that's a product. You will have several gadgets around you, those are all products. Think about something about that, what they are doing right, what they are not doing right, something about that, and turn that into a quick post, right? So something that you can, or we have been discussing, for the last 1 hour, we have been discussing many of the myths, right? About that, some key takeaway from the session that you have got so far, right? About that, something that I have told that was possibly new, maybe new to you, that you have not noticed before. This was a new insight that you learned today, right? About that, it could be anything. All I want is, it's a post broadly around product management, right? And you can basically, the way how you can get visibility into your post is by tagging right people, right? So for the post that you are writing, maybe if you're quoting me, then, or if you're referring me, or if you're, have some link of why that has to be tagged in to me, then you can tag me. Or if there is another product person who can give you that is relevant for, you can tag that person. Tag someone who has a bigger network of followers, right? So what happens is, that will give you some visibility into that post, right? So what you are doing, you are basically going to write a post about broadly around the product management theme. It could be from today's session, it could be from what you learned today, it could be from things around you. Tag or comment with someone's name, who has a good followers network. This is to get visibility into your post that you are creating. Now, any post that gets the maximum like is going to be the winner from today's from this specific challenge, right? There is no specific number. We are just going to look at whomever of you is submitting. If you are participating in this, whomever of you is submitting the link, we will just look at and then see which one has the highest number of likes, and then you will still get a the token of appreciation for it, right? So that is all we want to do, and the intention is to break the cycle that you are not writing. That's all that I want to see happening, right? If you have any questions, put it in the chat. But your time has started from 12, and that, around 12:05 to 12:10, we wanna stop this, and that and that you can send over the links to Herlin of the post that you have written, right? Herlin, can you put in some mail ID to which they can send the links?
All right, I can do that. And until then, we do have a few questions in the Q&A section of the Zoom chat if you'd want to answer those.
We can possibly take the questions after this. I don't want to sort of get into the exercise period so that everyone can concentrate on the activity and get this done.
All right,
Okay,
then.
cool.
Um, for everyone who is going to make the LinkedIn post and wants to share it with us so that we can see, you're welcome to put the link in the chat box here. You're also, as Muthurat said, that tagging an account gives you more visibility. Maybe you can tag the Institute of Product Leadership if you would want to receive that visibility. You're all welcome to do that. So this is 5 minutes of time that Madhuraj has given everyone. So I would request you all and urge you all to do the task at hand.
I'm hoping all of you are attempting this. If you are attempting this exercise, please put your hand up in the Zoom chat, as in just raise your hand just to see if you're participating, how many of you are participating. Uh, I'd like to see how many of you. I see 3 hands so far. Four. Come on, folks. I see you around only 8 to 10. I'm not sure if you're busy doing the exercise, hence you're not putting your hand up here. But, I want you all to participate. Hence, we have intentionally paused. If you're not participating, then you aren't gaining the important part, right? So, we want to make sure that majority of you are taking part. If you're really worried about making that first post, that that you don't want to sort of come out as something that is not thoughtful or something like that, if you think that is a barrier, uh, to start with, you could just look at someone else's post, share it, and add a few words to it. That is also okay, right? So all I want is you have to come out of that barrier of not writing, right? So, and that you would eventually then create a lot more demonstrable artifacts. So just try that out. Don't be hesitant. Don't think that you cannot do it, and don't drop out without even trying. You have to try this. And I would want to ideally see all 60 of you making a post, right? So create something that is at least share, someone in your network would have said something useful. Share that with a one line that you would want to call out. And any one of you who's done, you can start sending the links.
I hope everyone's working on their LinkedIn posts as we will be getting back to this session soon. So request you all to finish it as soon as you can. Thank you. And of course, share the links in the chat box.
Last 2 minutes before we resume the session. Um, if you folks are done, start posting your links. I'm not seeing links yet.
Oh, Mutturaj, we have one link in the chat box.
Yes. Okay, this is from Pratyus. Thanks, Pratyus, for being the first one to send out the link. Okay, last 1 minute.
We have another link in the chat. Ritesh, you've shared your link in the Q&A session, but unfortunately there it's not a clickable link. So I would request you to put it in the chat box instead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So I think we have received a set of posts. We will look at it post the session to have one of you possibly you can expect via email communication. Whom we select from the list. Um, you can the post that you have made, you should also take later on an effort to see how you can spread to more people, because it's also a technique that you need to learn, that basically it's not just because you have posted something it is going to go to multiple people. You have to also initially you have to take a few steps to promote what you have written, and then it starts to reach more people. So those things, you should start doing. Possibly you should share with your friends, or possibly you can add a comment to your own post. Those are techniques that you could try out in terms of how you can start promoting your post further. Right. So let's move on. I hope all of you start to write and create demonstrable assets. Right. So this is the next one. Now, this is about you know I think this is seriously just what a lot of folks are thinking out there, right? Sending message, sending message to uh, a recruiter or a PM, and then ask them for referral. And even LinkedIn makes this easier. If you apply for a job, it just says that, hey, there is someone in your connection who's working in this company, and do you want to send a referral note? And it gives a template. So you just use that template and send that message, right? So, this is like this, right? So I have accepted your request, and that we have become just best friends, right? So this is the expectation, unfortunately, with a lot of folks who send in a message, right? So you have to imagine. See, first of all, a LinkedIn connection does not indicate that you know that person, right? So you may or may not know them. If you do not know them and that you are just connected to someone, they are not your best friends. They are not someone who can take time out of their day schedule and go and refer you. They don't have any incentive to do it. They don't need to look at read your, and that most of these posts will also say, these referral messages will also say that, hey, this is my resume, read my resume and tell me if there is a job that is matching, right? So you are basically outsourcing everything to that person whom you are messaging, whom you don't even know, first of all, and you are asking that person to take time, read your message, open your resume, read through the resume, and that many of these resumes are even 3 pages again. No one reads that, and you are still sending that. You are expecting them to read, and then you are expecting them to also look at if there are openings, and then you are expecting them to send to you back that, hey, this is a position that matches you, come and attend the interview. Is this your expectation when you are sending a message to someone, right? So please put yourself in that person's shoe. if you are sending this sort of random messages to someone asking for a referral, you know, uh, please imagine yourself in that person's shoe and think about what you would have done, right? So unfortunately, no one has time to go through all of this, patiently look at it and send responses, right? If they are genuinely hiring, possibilities are there that they can actually look at it and then, they may respond because they have made a post that, hey, I'm hiring, reach out to me, hence they may be responding to you. But if that is not the case, then the chances are likely really really low, right? So you know uh, uh, cold messages sometimes can get you a lead. Like, if you do like maybe 200 messages, 100 messages, you are going to get some responses. But that's not a strategy that I would advise you for to reaching out to someone, right? So do your homework, and find that right person. If you are interested in a certain job, right, or a certain company, the steps starts long before that, right? So basically, because you like that certain company, certain job, you search and find relevant recruiting managers or hiring managers or product managers in that company. Let's say you like Freshworks product managers. You connect with recruiters of Freshworks who are hiring product managers or product managers who are already working in that company, right? So you have first made a list, like this is the company that I want to target for, and that for that list you are actually looking at the specific people, you're connecting with them. Your first message is not, hey, refer me, because you have connected, we are now best friends, so go refer me, right? So no, not that. Once they have connected, basically try striking a conversation, because connection does not mean anything, right? So someone has accepted your request does not mean anything. Start the conversation with what they are doing, or something about their post, something that they have recently did. Talk about them, talk about their company, talk about their product to them. Strike a conversation and make at least an attempt to network with them. And then eventually, when there is a position, you will stand a chance to send out a pitch for yourself that, hey, this is why I think I may be fit for this role. Here is the role link. Here is my profile link. Here is my demonstrable artifact. Would be of great help if you could refer me, right? But for that, you should have first made that handshake. You should have first made that networking. Imagine in the physical networking world, this does not happen, right? So how do you think the digital networking is very different from that, right? So that it has to have it is the same human being. Just because you are interacting with through a digital medium does not mean that the other person on the other side is a robot, right? So they are still a human being, and you have to give them that emotions. You have to make an effort to make that connection, right? So if you go to a conference and you walk up to someone, and directly tell them, hey, I'm so and so, I'm looking for a job, here is my resume, printed resume, take it and give me the job, right? So would you do this in a physical event, right? You would not. Then why are you doing that in a digital medium? All day, every time it happens, every time I open my messages, eh, not just me, anyone for that matter, right? So like a lot of you would have also received from other folks who are trying to do this to you as well, right? So find the right person and do it only with that, right? So this is actually your this is something that ideally I would recommend even today itself. If you are able to do this today, I would strongly recommend do this. That you would know some companies that you like, right? Like possibly Microsoft, Amazon, or Freshworks, or any Salesforce, Google's company of your choice, right? And then you may like a product management job with them. Connect with one of those recruiters and connect with those product managers, and then try striking a conversation, right? So try this as a genuine exercise. Don't try to spam them, right? But try to connect with people only if you have real interest, right? So I would strongly advise you to do this. you at least, start this today. When you hear something, it will always sound cool, but if you don't do that day itself, the next day you will forget. So just try to do this today itself, right? So I would strongly recommend you to do this. I would advise you to do this in a taken kind of a manner. You have to be such sharp that you don't know who they are, but you're going to find them, right? So that's how you should be. Right. So if you look at a summary of getting into product management, there is an aspect of getting yourself ready, and then there is an aspect of making the transition. So getting yourself ready is basically, how can you do programs, certifications, any of the online courses, YouTube videos, blogs. There's bunch of free material, so many things. You just have to go find it, search it, and start using it, right? So you have to upskill yourself for product management. That's number one step that you should be doing. Then there is a mindset, looking out things around you with a product type, right? So like, we are using WhatsApp is introducing WhatsApp forms today. They have recently launched WhatsApp channel, right? So what does that mean for someone who has a Instagram page versus a X page versus a WhatsApp channel? Is this a competing strategy? Is this a complementing strategy? Right? So look at things around you with the product type, right? There's so much that you can learn just by looking at the things that you are day-to-day using itself. That's the product mindset. That's very, very important. And that act, this is the first step that you tried taking today, which is you wrote a post. Try to see if you can create more demonstrable artifacts, right? So that is basically how you get yourself ready. Then make the transition, the right contacts. Think about what we talked about in terms of identifying the right contact. You have to have a genuine interest. You have to connect them, and then you have to take it from there. Follow pull strategy with recruiters, right? So if you go cold message someone, as we discussed, the odds are very, really low. But if you are making artifacts and you're sharing your artifacts regularly in LinkedIn, the recruiters are going to automatically reach out to you. What makes you think that a recruiter may not reach out to you, right? A lot of folks have this consumption that, hey, I have to go and reach out to them. No, see, recruiter also has a job. Like how you have a job, how you want to find a product management job, they want to find a product manager. That's their job, by the way, right? So they are looking for people. So if you are someone who are doing demonstrable assets and showcasing in your LinkedIn, for example, Medium, for example, then they are going to reach out to you. That's the pull strategy. Try this. It's very, very powerful. When you start to do this, you will see so many recruiters reaching out to you. Then the transition will automatically happen. Then your next jump will automatically happen. It's just a barrier that you have to start applying your thinking and start showcasing, right? So that's very, very important. Because by doing that first step, you are already standing out from a huge crowd, because most of them will claim what they know, a lot of things, but they are not showcasing that. By showcasing, even if you know smaller set of things, but if you start showcasing that, whatever you actually know, then you are going to get a lot of traffic to your profile, which will translate into a percentage of leads in terms of you are getting job interviews. Then absolutely entrepreneurship as well. If this is something that aligns for you, then you can actually do entrepreneurship as well. With a product mindset, you can do entrepreneurship with product mindset is missing in today's market, largely speaking, because a lot of entrepreneurs today are coming from an engineering technology background in specifically the situation with India I'm talking about, right? So basically, they are coming from technology background. They think that this could be a cool problem, and then they start building it, but not with a product mindset. So if you are someone with a product mindset, you can actually build great products and you can stand out, right? So this is also something that you could try if you have that entrepreneurial mindset, right? So those are the things that I would recommend for you if you're someone who is looking to transition, right? So that ends the myths and the transition aspects. I have a 2-3 FAQ that the questions that typically students ask me, folks ask me in my mentoring sessions, in my one-on-one sessions. I at least meet more than 100 to anywhere between 100 to 200 PMs, aspiring PMs in a year, over one-on-ones or through sessions. A lot more of them through sessions, actually. And a lot of them ask some repeated questions. Those repeated questions I can cover as sort of the FAQs, and then followed by, I can actually take the questions that are there in the call as well, right? So let me take a couple of them, and then we can go ahead from there. Right. So, I think there was also a question around this. See, basically, one of you had asked a question about, hey, there was a lot of features that I got as a request. And there is also, with those set of features, there comes conflicting interest as well. So how do you deal with this kind of conflicting priorities when there is multiple features and that you have to decide what you have to build, how you can go about, right? Data is your friend here. And so there's two forms of data, your qualitative data and your quantitative data. Both is important. You know, if you're building a B2C product, you may be having a lot more customer base. So basically you will be able to send, for example, surveys to get the trend, understand the pulse, and then understand what really is needed. In B2B, a lot of qualitative analysis is needed. What's the trend? What is the research paper saying? Whether this is something to be really built or not. So try to back up your proposals, your features with a lot of data points, and then take a firm stand. Just because someone is asking, just because other people are conflicting, it doesn't mean that you have to give up as a product manager. If you have data points, you can actually stand up for it. Stand up in a way that is assertive, that you are able to work with a group of people collaboratively and eventually make them understand and drive them towards the direction of building what is rightly needed for the product, right? So that's very important. So if you let just a lot of features come into your queue, your backlog is increasing, and that there are conflicting priorities, you will end up then doing nothing, right? So this is a product manager's part and parcel of a product manager's job. You have to stand up to it, you have to back it up, and you have to do it. Right. So this is another question that comes very often. That is, hey, certification mandatory. The other flavor of this question is, I have now a certification, will I get a product manager job, right? Both is not true. Certification is not mandatory also. And because you have certification as well, you cannot feel entitled that you will get a product manager job, right? So both is not true. What you learn is not important to your hiring manager. What have you made out of that learning? What have you applied is what is important. So this goes back to our demonstrable asset point, which is, for example, today you attended this session, right? I'm hoping you had maybe 2-3 good insights that at least that you have not known before, right? Now you known these insights. Yes, you learned these insights. What difference does it make? You're tomorrow going to a product job interview. Would it make a difference because you attended this session and 3 insights that you have learned that you never knew before, and that because of that they will give you a job? No, right? Would it make a difference because you have a paper which says that you are a certified? No, it does not. So at least for project management, there was this industry recognized certification, and for security, networking, there are certain domain specific industry recognized certifications which the companies look at it and say, hey, if you have this, I agree that you have skills. But most other areas, barring 2-3 things that we talked about, like security, networking, and project management, very few areas have these kind of industry body recognized certifications. Majority of these certifications are intended to impart learning to you, and you have to use that learning to apply to something. And because of what you have been able to apply is why you are going to get that job, not because you have learned, but because you have applied. There is a very big difference between the two. So start applying, right? That's very important. And this is the other thing that I very often get actually. Should I do B2B or B2C product management, right? Firstly, if you are considering B2B versus B2C, that itself is a great start, because a lot of folks who are considering product management as a career do not understand the difference. They think both are same. They apply for both kind of jobs. This is not right. Because there is while the foundational skills are same, I will cover what that skills are. But while the foundational skills are same, the how you operate is very different in B2B versus B2C. Now, B2B, for example, there is a buyer persona who's paying for your product. There is a end user persona who is actually using the product. The number of customers that you would interact for a new feature or a new product that you are developing would be hardly varying between 5 to 15 customers at a time for a product, for a new product that you're building, a feature that you're building. Whereas in B2C, you can interact, or you can reach out to using surveys to easily huge amount of customers. So B2C runs today very, very heavily on experiments. Uh, Almost all of the B2C product management is experiment driven, data driven, very, very high data driven. You can immediately test things and you can keep revising it. While B2 as in B2C side, while B2B can also, you can do some experiments. The amount of experiments that you can do in B2B is less, which means you need to have a lot of knowledge for that domain, right? So you need to build a lot of domain knowledge for you to take that call about whether or not to build something. So building something and releasing something in B2B is relatively much more expensive. Hence, you need to have that conviction about whether or not this can immediately make a difference, what can help the product in long term, what is the long term roadmap thinking looking like. There are several operational elements that are different between how a B2B product manager would behave from a B2C product manager would behave. Very rarely someone who is successful in B2B can also be successful in B2C, and vice versa. So you need to understand the differences and take a call for yourself whether you want to be a consumer product manager like Swiggy, Zomato, Uber, and so on, or you want to be, you know, a business product manager, right? So a product built for businesses, right? So which one would you want to be is a choice that you have to make, because there's a lot of execution differences that would come out. And you as a product managers, how you position yourself, how you execute these day-to-day things will heavily start to differ between the two, right? Hence, this is something that is important for you to understand, pursue what is your passion and what you would want to do. So we talked about the skills are same, the specialization can be B2B or a B2C, right? So what are those skills is this view that I wanted to give you. And with that, once after this view, we can go into the questions that you folks are having, right? So if you look at it from bottom to top, as a foundation, there are soft skills. These are non-negotiable. As a product manager, you need to do stakeholder management. You have passion for what you're doing. You have patience to get things done. You are good at communication, presentation. You are able to influence others. You are able to tell a story, narrate a story of why we should be doing what we are doing. You are able to network. These are non-negotiable skills. And then there are functional skills that you are able to do market research, you are able to do competition analysis, strategy, agile, positioning. These are again functional skills for product that you would need. On top of this, you will build the expertise. This is where, for example, you can make a choice. You can make a choice to be a B2B PM because you are strong-headed, you are enterprise thinking oriented, you can think long term, you can put a long term roadmap, you take, even with limited amount of evidence and limited data, you can take strong decisions and back it up with other hypotheses and evidences and trend. You are someone who goes into a lot of research papers, conferences, and able to predict the trend or follow or rightly capture the trend, right? So, then you want to become a B2B PM, for example, right? And then there is a B2C PM. You love experimentation, you love data, you love data crunching. There's you can achieve great scale, you can easily get to that million users. Now you start to think about, even if you make a small change that impacts a huge amount of them, so how do you keep doing experiments, keep tweaking the knobs until you get the right set of features and so on, right? So you enjoy the data crunching, you enjoy that kind of a scaled building, right? So you start to do B2C, for example, right? Even within that B2B, B2C, you can make further choices. For example, you can make a choice to be a 0 to 1 PM. While I recommended that everyone should do 0 to 1, only some of you would be really, really good at doing 0 to 1. So then you would stick to it. Like, hey, I want to be this 0 to 1 PM, which means I will start a new concept, make the first launch for that product. As soon as the first launch is done, I will move on to my next challenge. By the way, you will see a lot of entrepreneurs doing this. This is because they are really good at 0 to 1. Right? So you can take a call whether you want to be a 0 to 1 PM or a growth PM or a matured product that you want to do feature management, right? So those are also expertise choices that you can take. You can take choices also like, data PM, growth, technology PM, the tech PM, right? So like you want to be building technology products, right? So technology platforms. Hence you want to be 9 of 10 in the technology understanding the scale that we discussed about, right? So that's another expertise that you could pick up. You could pick up a specific domain and stick to it. Like you want to be a healthcare PM. You want to be a fintech PM, right? Or you want to switch around, like you did health tech for some time and then you moved to fintech, right? So that's another thing that you could do. So the top layer is your expertise. You can build expertise in one area, or you can build expertise in multiple areas. You can move from one expertise area to another expertise area, right? So that's your top layer. But your bottom two things, that your soft skills that are needed and the functional product skills that are needed, are non-negotiable, right? This is how you should be approaching it. First, you need to build the soft and the functional skills that are needed for product management. Then know about what are all different expertises that lies for product management. Choose one area of expertise, try that out, whether it is working. Try B2C 0 to 1, not working, go to B2B, try growth, try various combinations of expertise. Sometimes it does work also, but you still want to change because you like switching. Sometimes you try it out and you realize that it is not working, hence you want to change. That's also okay. So expertise is okay to be changed, but build your foundation really, really strong, right? So that's the message I would like to drive here. So that's my last slide for the day. I'd like to stop here to open up for questions from the audience. Okay, let me stop sharing and we can start taking questions. So how do we go about questions, Salim?
There's a Q&A box in the Zoom window. If you can see it, there are some questions that have been put in already.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I think the first one is generic SaaS or all industries. So product management concepts are, applies to everything, all industries. But because I come from a SaaS product background, my examples would be more tuned to SaaS products, but I hope you folks were able to get also some common understanding across all industries. Okay, next is, can a successful project manager become a product manager? So as I mentioned, irrespective of your background, you can come and be a product manager. You just have to learn the necessary skills. We looked at the skills that are needed for becoming a product manager. As long as you hold these skills and you realize what's your delta, which is missing today, and you're able to upskill yourself on that, you can still be a successful product manager, irrespective of your background. Product manager for multiple products. Yes, like if you look at smaller companies, when you go to higher level in the product management, you may have, if it's a multi-product company, then you are previewing multiple products as that product director or a VP product. You are forcing multiple products. That is possible. Software testing to product management. I hope that question is already answered based on the background that we already discussed. Okay. So let me complete that. Okay, product management and technical product management. I think we exhaustively covered this specifically. Like if you are going to be driving a product platform, you have to be that 9 of 10 in the technical scale that we talked about, right? So this is again another mistake that folks do, that they think all product managers are same and they apply for all product managers role. This is what we call as this. The machine gun approach. It's like if you're looking for a job role, then you start applying to everything that you see on LinkedIn, for example, right? So and that you would not noticing that you should start noticing the difference. If you're not a technical person and you're applying to that technology platform product manager role, they may not even call that in the heading. You have to read through the description. You may not be successful there. Or if you're a highly technical person going into a growth product management role, you may not be again successful there. So you have to understand what are you getting into. SIF domains, as I mentioned, domains or industries is your expertise layer. The third layer that I talked about in the skills, that all of those expertise can be switched. Like you can move from 0 to 1 to growth product management. You can move from one industry to another industry. I myself have transitioned between several domains and industries because I like doing that. Some folks would enjoy being in the same domain. There is no right or wrong about it. For example, you could pick fintech and you want to stay with fintech forever. That's also fine. Or you want to move to different domains and apply your when you change your expertise, you remember the diagram, the foundation remains the same. Your soft skills and your product functional skills still remain the same. Hence, you can change your expertise and apply the same soft skills and functional skills to be successful in that role as well. Different startup, consumer business roles, product manager. This is a question from Anand. Switch company. Okay. Okay. So I mean, looks like, see, basically what happens is, product management. If you would like to experience that structured product management, right? So it is not necessarily that only structured product management is product management, because essentially we have to be the folks who can build a deliver value that is of essence to your customers, right? So you can be in startups where there is less structured, but you are gaining a lot of experience and then eventually climbing up the ladder and so on, right? So that is also possible. But if you want to experience a structured product management, like how go one by one, what are the different things needed, then you can actually apply to corporate, some of the bigger product companies, and then get into them. So you can, in this case, if that's your goal, that you're trying to um, experience that structured product team, how structured product team works, then look for those kind of companies and switch and try. You currently have your designation also as product manager, which means you would not have the problem of, for example, if you're transitioning, that becomes a challenge when you're jumping around, when you're jumping from one company to another company. Your current title is not product management, then you will not even get filtered. In this case, you seem to have good experience, relevant experience. You should be able to find another role in another company, which can give you that exposure to structured product management. So Ram Prasant, engaging in meeting with various stakeholders and navigating internal dynamics, organizational challenges or complexities. See, there are several levels of organizational challenges that could happen. The main ones to be aware of is the culture of the company itself, right? So as I was telling us so earlier, some companies are, they basically are technology. They associate themselves as a technology company. These are all technology product companies, but then within that there is a subgroup where a company says that we are a technology first company, and then other group which is product first companies, right? So in the technology first companies, you will see the engineering managers having an upper hand in a lot of decisions as well. They will still run, an engineering team will run a lot of things even without product management involvement. When you go with your proposals, you still have to get engineering team aligned before you can actually do it. So those kind of things can happen in some of those companies. So that is something that you need to be aware about, and you need to know how to handle those kind of situations. It is not a given that if a company is hiring a product manager, it is not a given that they already have this culture that what product manager is saying is what will be built. There are companies that hire product managers but still have engineering heavy culture, which means what engineering finally decides goes into the product. There are companies which hire product manager and have sales heavy culture, which means what sales team says that, hey, this is the feature that is blocking me the next $10 million deal. That is the one that will get prioritized. Right. So there are different cultures, like the sales heavy culture, engineering heavy culture, and product heavy culture. You cannot work in only one type of companies. You will, as you progress through your career, you will shift around to different companies. So you have to sort of learn your way to work with these stakeholders by working with data. When you are in product oriented companies, all these stakeholders will naturally ask you for a decision. Hey, you tell us, and along with why that we should be doing this. But in other cases, it is very much possible in the other culture that a product manager can be overridden by the other folks, right? So a sales team or an engineering team. So those are areas where you should be knowing how you should be presenting data, how you can deal with these kind of situations. Okay. Is it okay to reduce the font size? Okay. Okay. So, okay, to some extent, but not to a non-readable level, right? So the easiest way to test it is print your resume to see how that looks in that single page, right? So I think you can go down to like font 9. I wouldn't recommend going below that font size just because you want to fit everything, right? So when I said 3 page to 1 page, I didn't mean that you have to take all your content and shrink the font size to put it in 1 page. You have to see essentially what is needed in this 1 page is, it is basically a summary, right? So first thing is, what is that you're offering? Like, what are your key skills? Now, key skills is a climb. How are you substantiating that claim? By showing artifacts. Those are hyperlinks that you can put in your resume. And then a summary of what you have done so far in your career, which is each position 1 to 2 lines. And if you have several years of experience, you can combine 2, 3 positions, similar positions, into one entry. All your development experience into one, project management experience into one, and then product management experience, right? That's also possible. So, what is more important is today, what are your key skills and what are your proof points for those skills? That's more important. And then the summary, and the summary should be limited enough to show that, you have made good amount of impact. So these should be in the format of what have you done in that role that helped to make what difference, right? So basically, these should be measurable, 1 or 2 statements per experience or per group of experience that you have summarized. That is good enough. So 1 page resume is actually more than enough, irrespective of your number of years of experience, irrespective of the amount of skills that you are holding. End of the day, it's like a product 1 page, right? How you expect, before going into the details of a product, I want to see 1 page to make a call about whether or not I should buy this product, right? If a product, see, you're going to buy, let's say, a laptop, and then they give you a 50-page manual, ask you to go and read it, and then buy this. Would you do that? Right? So that is how you should be thinking, that it is the same thing today, even with the skill sets, even with the job market. You have to pitch yourself in not more than 1 page. Okay. How do we receive appropriate customer feedback for B2B products wherein I might not have direct customer interaction? So, direct customer interaction, irrespective of B2B, B2C, you still need a direct customer interaction. You have to build direct customer interaction through different channels. For example, if you are building in a B2B setup, you have someone like an account manager in your company who works with that account, and that company also has an account manager through which you have to figure out some manager, an IT manager, an admin, who can then point you, eventually to a end user who can give actual feedback about the product, right? So this is a process to work through. This process may not be easy, but you have to work through this process. You have to start somewhere. You have to start reaching out to these account managers, through them establish contacts with a set of customers, and then start getting feedback from them, right? So this is important. But in absence of it, like for example, if this is taking a lot of time and that you're not able to immediately, you have some feedback that you have to get and you're not able to immediately reach out to them, there are other ways. That is basically, number one is customer proxies. Your sales team, your customer engineers, your customer support team, they are good source of knowledge. They are customer proxies. They can tell you what customers are requiring, right? But again, they are customer proxies. They are not customers. So you have to take it with a pinch of salt. You have to apply your own analysis before you drive insights from that. And that you can also depend upon industry recognized research like Gartner, Forrester. What are they saying about an industry? What is the trend predictions are they making? Those are other things that you can do in absence of customer feedback. So customer feedback is still important. Take your step to move towards that. In B2B, it's difficult to get there, but you have to keep moving it. In absence of it, you can still do based on your customer proxies and research papers. Okay. Tools for a product manager. That's a very broad question. There are so many different tools, and different companies today are using. So, the tool sets are not unified, right? Like for example, for product analytics, you would do a you would do a Adobe Analytics in another company. You would use a Jira in one company. You would use an Asana roadmap in another company, right? So the tool sets broadly changes today because SaaS products have become the norm of how we, how we do day-to-day work. For everything, there are multiple SaaS products, and these products heavily. There are so many offerings around there in the market. For experimentation, there are so many different products. There are roadmap. There are so many different for prioritization, for writing PRDs. There are so many tools out there, and different companies uses different set of tools. And for compliance reasons, you may not be able to use the tool of your choice in a company. If they recommend a certain tool for task management, for roadmap management, etc., you still have to use that tool only when you are with the company. So what is important is what you're doing. There are tools that generic skills that you can learn, like you should learn a querying skill, dashboard, how to build basic dashboards, how to build roadmap. You would need to build those skills, but these skills should be portable between tools. You shouldn't be dependent on the tools, because today that is very diverse landscape between different companies. Links sent. Okay. Yeah, skills we discussed, the foundational, the 3 layers of skills. Hope that helped answer your question, because then Ritesh, senior product manager and the product director, I see. Or do they have reporting team members? So reporting for product managers start typically from a level of senior product managers in most corporate company setups. So it could start from, the role starts from like associate PM, PM level 1, PM level 2, and then senior product manager in a corporate setup. From senior product manager, you can have reportees, and then group product manager, and then product director, and then VP product director, and then SVP product director. Then you could become a CPO, then you could become CEO also, right? So like there is a that's how the career progression happens, like the full ladder of product. But if you look at it specifically from reporting structure, then senior product manager onwards, you could start to have reporting structure. A reporting structure alone does not define a product manager. It basically, the amount of portfolio and the amount of revenue that you're managing from your kitty as a product, that will directly translate as your influence as a product manager in the product management career. And then in the title, there is also a lot of other confusion that happens, because what happens is, if you look at a startup, you could join as a product manager first year, second year you're a senior product manager, third year you're a group product manager. Whereas in a corporate, you could be 20 years of experience senior product manager, a top product company, right? So the title need to be looked up in relation with the company. There are other corporate companies, you may know which company I'm saying here, right? They give titles as vice president for a lot of folks. They give, just for senior folks, they call it VP, associate VP or VP, right? So, or associate directors, because that company's title itself is always inflated. Whereas, for example, if you look at a Google follows deflated titles, right? So like, you'll not get a fancy title, even though irrespective of you are managing a large portfolio of products, right? So it is not by title you need to decide something. It is by role. Title is a reference to what could possibly indicate. Like when I talked about associate PM level 1, level 2, senior product manager, this is for you to relate to from the role perspective. End of the day, what's the role they are doing? That is what matters, because of the the structure differences between small startups, medium scale companies, and corporate companies. Okay. Yeah, so certifications. So how to choose the best one? So, you remember the skills framework that I told you, that basically the 3 layers. See where you stand today. See what are you missing. Are you someone who's missing heavily on the soft skills? maybe you don't have to do the product management certificate, you have to do some soft skill certifications. That is what is missing. Are you someone who's looking to learn that functional skills or specific functional skills? For example, you don't know the strategy, but you don't know strategy and road mapping, but you would know wide variety of product skills already. Then you may want to do a targeted upskilling on strategy and road mapping. Or you may say that, hey, I'm bits and pieces here and there. I want like a structured thing to happen, right? So that's when, for example, courses like a structured MBA, a structured, ICPM kind of courses can help you to, if you are looking at, hey, in this 3 layers, I have bits and pieces here and there. I want things to be mapped together. So that's when you need like a course that can give you that kind of a structure. So you have to first analyze where do you stand and then decide, right? So unfortunately, what I see from a lot of folks today is that they just compare one certification versus another offering, and then they are trying to compare without even knowing where they stand, right? So you are an individual, you have certain goals. For reaching that goals, there is something needed. With that lens, you have to approach the certifications, not from the lens of here is offering one, here is offering two, let me compare it. That will not help you. You may have compared and you have got the best offering out of the two, but that is not the offering that you would need as a person to succeed as a product manager, right? So you have to do that self-reflection. That's important to select the right one.
Sorry, Mutraj, sorry to interrupt you, but due to time constraints, we're gonna have to wind up. If that's okay, yeah.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So, wow, I see so bunch of questions. Yeah. So, thanks, folks. I think a lot of questions were also answered. That's why I tried to do a sort of an FAQ within my session itself, collecting some of these questions to answer that. I hope that helped as well. Thank you so much for very active participation and bringing in your questions to make the session vibrant. I hope the session was useful and wishing you all a great day.
Thank you, Mutraj. Thank you for being here and sharing all this information with our attendees. I'm sure it's given them a lot of, insight and understanding, better understanding. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that. And to all our attendees, thank you for joining in. I hope you've had a fruitful session and are taking away great insights from here. I would request you all, if you could take out a few minutes of your time to just leave us a review, maybe feedback, suggestions, queries, anything that you have. The link is posted in the chat. If you guys could take out a few minutes of your time to just follow it and leave any kind of comment, feedback, queries, questions, anything you would want to ask us. We would really appreciate that. The link is in the chat. That is all. Thank you, Mutraj. Thank you to all our attendees. I hope you all have a good rest of the day, and I look forward to hosting you all in the future. Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.